I was like super excited when I found a copy of Wet Moon over on Comixology. Wet Moon is probably like one of those seminal comic books, for me at least. It's an amazing experience by Sophie Campbell, and she just has that nice, dark, gloomy feel to her entire setup. And it's really about the story about a young girl who's basically just trying to figure out where they're going in life. There's, of course, the creepy woman in the swamp. There's a bunch of other interesting things that kind of go on, all your little goth friends. But you know, for anybody that was an outsider or an outcast during high school or even just in college, you know, you remember those days. You can't help but remember them. And this really captures that whole process of how do you be an outsider? What are you like in the goth community? What do you like when you're not popular? What do you like when you're short or fat or don't fit in? Things that don't work for you in terms of trying to have some kind of social stature. These little groups tend to collect around. And this is that story of this young lady who basically the complete misfit, everything about being a misfit, everything about not fitting in, and then finding out who you really are and what you're really about along the way. So it's kind of an exciting thing to actually have found this on Comixology. And for me, the reason why this is so seminal is because it's such a poignant story. I mean, honestly, you can't go through your life without realizing that at some point you did something or you were something that didn't quite fit in with the rest of the popular crowd. And that's perfectly legit and that's totally okay. But how did you deal with it? How did you cope? How did you go through all the things that went along with it? And that's what makes this storyline and this whole process really exciting. And the fact that now that it's extended out to 4 graphic novels just really makes my day. And it's been re-released, it's been remastered. So it's kind of nice to actually see this and kind of see how that remastering process has worked from when I first originally read this comic book about 5 years ago. So you really do want to dive into this comic book. This comic book is just, for me, again, it's a seminal comic book. It's a storyline that I think I can agree with. The art is just this beautiful black and white. She captures everything beautifully. There are no flaws in this comic book as far as I know, because she captures all that angst, all the weird, all the things that go on when you're in high school, or all the things that go on when you don't fit in. Even through adulthood, there are times where we just don't fit in and we're not going to fit in. And that's perfectly okay when the social processes and the maturation processes in high school can really just screw your day up, right? And kids, they're horrible to each other. Well, adults are equally horrible as well. And she really does capture that. She captures all these people interacting, from the kids to adults to a creepy swamp girl. And you know, you've got a nice gothic setting, a nice goth setting, because these kids are not going to fit in. They don't want to fit in. And that's what makes this a really super special comic book for me. Right, I really do, including betrayals and processes and all the little angsty things that we go through. I cannot highly recommend this book enough. I've given it 5 stars in the past, and I'll give it 5 stars in the future, just because for me this comic book is so vitally important to read, especially if you've got a kid that's not quite fitting in, if you've got something else going on, or even if you just want to kind of come back and go through that approach of what not fitting in actually feels like or looks like. If you want to relive that horrible moment in your childhood or your history, if you had it, and if you were a jock, then who cares? But it's that whole process of all these subcultures, and if you don't remember high school well, just remember all the subcultures that were represented in high school as kids tried to find an identity, and she really captures that. Go buy this comic book. It's on Comixology, it's on Amazon, it's through Oni Press. You can go get it just about anywhere. Go buy it from your local comic book dealership and just really explore how Sophie manages to capture this whole world. And it's a really beautiful experience.